joint services agree that there is urgent need to overhaul the security sector. Diplomatic relations established with Kazakhstan and 50,000 insecticide-treated nets are being distributed by Health Ministry towards reducing malaria. Weekly Digest is a government information agency program that keeps you up to date on what government has been doing to better the lives of all Guyanese. With the details, I am Sue Finley Williams. The security sector reform strategy continues to gain momentum and support. Even joint services heads believe that there is urgent need to overhaul the sector to effectively meet the needs of Guyanese.
The police force and the fire and prison services have been in existence for many years, and as such, they can no longer operate solely on the principles on which they were built. In light of this, the joint services over the last 5 years have made significant efforts to enhance their operations via training and the use of modern technologies.
Training for us is that it will bring our ranks to the level that we want them. And we're training from constables right up to officers. From constables right up to the officer level, we're training. And I must say that emphasis will be placed heavily as part of the reform on bridging that gap that we have with the public. And that's one of the areas I've been harping on for the most part of late last year, and I've commenced the year with that, because we need to work along with the public.
The Guyana Fire and Rescue Service, now 55 years old, has expanded its reach significantly, so much so that today this organization has moved from 7 stations to 15, and the 16th is set to come on stream at Diamond shortly.
We see Guyana still developing. We are now seeing our urban areas now being transformed from what we know as basic 2- and 1-story structures to very tall buildings, and that of itself shows or indicates to us that we still have to intelligently anticipate what will be the future developmental trends in Guyana. And of course, whatever happens there will have an impact on the fire service and the readiness of the fire service to provide that service that will be necessary for that. So in the whole modernization process, I must say, will be hinged on the development trend of Guyana.
Meanwhile, the prison service now has greater civilian oversight of its operations and is focused more on the reform and reintegration of prisoners rather than just meting out punishment.
We're in a good position to move and deliver far better services, more measurable services, more quality services, to not just the inmate population, but general to the society at large.
Minister of Finance Dr. Ashni Singh faced the press this week to answer questions on privatization transactions executed by government and the recently launched privatization report titled Privatization in Tables.
The report launched by President Donald Ramotar lists details of government's transactions from 1993 to 2011 and is the latest move towards government's commitment towards placing in the public domain information about government's operations.
It is to the credit of the privatization unit that we are able to compile this document with this information. And it bears testimony to the fact that this government has ensured the existence of such systems, that is to say systems that have documented our public transactions, and is committed to placing that information in the public domain.
On the issue of third-party verification of the transactions, the minister reiterated that all the steps taken were in the public domain and all the entities involved were subject to an audit process. Additionally, the question was raised about information not being made available to opposition members of parliament, especially on the privatization of the Sonata complex.
At the end of the 9th Parliament, which I had the privilege of serving, there was no question, and this is a matter of public record, there were hundreds of questions asked formally by members of parliament. And at the end of the 9th Parliament, there was no question asked by a member of parliament, opposition or otherwise, that remained unanswered.
On the charge of persons close to the government being involved in transactions and alleged shady deals, Minister Singh stated unequivocally that each transaction could be laid bare in detail without exemption, regardless of who is involved. Minister Singh also noted that every single citizen of Guyana, regardless of their friendships or political persuasions and affiliation, has a constitutional statutory protected right to participate and invest in the nation's economy, which is a free one.
The Labour Ministry met with Chinese stakeholders to educate them on the laws under which human resource is managed.
On January 17th, the ministry engaged Chinese shop and restaurant owners in a training seminar designed to educate them about Guyana's labor legislation. Because of the language barrier, very often there are instances of misunderstanding between employers and their employees. This is just the beginning of a series of seminars that the ministry plans to hold because of the nature of the laws.
The fact that so many of you are here this afternoon is an indication that you wanted to be part of doing business in Guyana in a legal way. We commend all of you for the confidence you have placed in our economy and for the manner in which you are conducting business in Guyana. We have had some problems with persons from your community not understanding the law.
Participants were presented with copies of the labor laws on holidays with pay, conditions of employment, termination of employment, minimum wages and the Severance Pay Act, all translated into Chinese. There were also the issues of noise, fire prevention and health and safety and the Occupational Health and Safety Act.
We want to help you. And that is the reason why we have translated some of our labor laws into Chinese. We want to build on the relationship that exists between the Ministry of Labor and the Chinese community at large. So we want you to know the labor laws. Hence, you will observe the labor laws.
President of the Chinese Association, Chow Shai-long, lauded the ministry for the efforts to educate them on the labor laws. He said that they would encounter challenges, but now they have a chance to learn more about the labor laws.
The Ministry of Health continues to fight against malaria, and the distribution of 50,000 insecticide-treated nets will continue to help across the regions.
5,000 long-lasting impregnated nets were handed over to the Regional Health Officer acting for Region 7, Merlin Ferrier. The nets will serve several communities in the region and will target minors in particular.
Malaria has been a challenge for the longest while in Region 7, probably because it's about the largest mining region, and there's an influx of even Brazilians in our regions who are now part of the mining industry. We have seen an increase this year last year compared to 2010, especially on the rechecks malaria cases.
8,578 new cases of malaria were recorded to date in 2012, with 4,593 positive rechecks. It was observed that the positive rechecks cases occur when persons do not complete their initial treatment and suffer a relapse. 5,000 of the treated nets were also handed over to Region 8. Over the past few years, with the assistance of Global Fund, the ministry has distributed over 16,000 nets around the country.
At least 5,000 people should be able to benefit from these nets, and not only from Madhya, but other areas, including those areas in the North Pacaraima that are not readily accessible. So we'll be making efforts to get those nets into those areas.
The malaria unit has also planned to carry out mass blood and fever surveys every 21 days in all mining camps and villages and extend outreaches and mass health education and awareness programs to poor and vulnerable groups and engage in new national partners. A malaria conference has also been planned.
There is more in the Weekly Digest after these messages.
The Women of Worth program, a microcredit scheme introduced to lift the economic standing of especially single parents, has transformed the lives of over 2,300 women. Tapping into the loan facility has enabled them to better their and their families' lives.
Great improvements have been made in road construction and rehabilitation under the Hinterland Road program. In the Moruca sub-region, Region 1, 60 miles of road was rehabilitated and constructed, while in Region 4, 12 miles of the St. Cuthbert's Trail has been transformed into an all-weather road.
The health sector can be considered as a training institution, since Guyanese are afforded the opportunity to pursue medical training in a number of fields, including medicine, nursing, and surgery at the postgraduate level, midwifery, dentistry, and technicians. All of these ensure efficient delivery of healthcare. A message from the Government Information Agency.
Amerindians are now fully involved in every aspect of development, from the highest level of decision-making to that of their communities. Amerindians have been catapulted into the mainstream of society because of the educational and other opportunities made available to them by the PPPC administration over the past 2 decades. Advancement is also being made at the international level, where Amerindians represent their country.
The government of Germany has granted Guyana €5 million to boost the protected area system.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has inked an agreement with the German government for a €5 million financial grant, which will boost its bilateral program on tropical forest protection. This program seeks to promote the preservation of biodiversity and natural resources in the Guyana Protected Area System.
We are actually now celebrating the third phase of this ongoing project, which I think so far amounts to about $14–15 million, and this is the latest phase. Now will have about €5 million, which is quite a considerable aid. We have actually, with the region, with CARICOM and the CARICOM region, we have only regional projects, and Guyana is the only country where we have given your ongoing efforts in the international climate change discussion. We have bilateral projects ongoing for quite a while.
In addition to supporting various aspects of the LCDS program, some of the funds will be used to support the recently launched Protected Areas Commission, which will be based in the National Park compound in Georgetown.
It's the newest of commissions that we have within the natural resources and the environment sector, and it certainly is reflective of our commitment in terms of what we've said and what we're doing on the issue of climate change, but certainly in fulfilling the objective of the LCDS. Also, the second element is supporting the various communities that are part of the protected area system, and how it is they can have alternative and even reinforce some of the activities that they have been engaged in for their livelihood. And certainly the third one, which is also very critical, is to strengthen the various agencies that are in charge of ensuring that we have compliance, be the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, the Guyana Forestry Commission, and also the Environmental Protection Agency, falling under the Ministry of Natural Resources.
This is the latest initiative of cooperation between the two countries, which began in 1996. This program has seen alternative livelihood projects launched in over 30 Amerindian communities, the drafting of the National Protected Areas Act of 2011, delineation plans for the Kanuku and Shell Beach areas, and the draft Kanuku Mountains Management Plan.
There are calls for greater recognition of the importance and benefits of the coconut industry, as coconut plays an important role in agricultural diversification.
Guyana indeed has a formal coconut industry, but this industry has been developed over decades, and it goes back to the emergence of agriculture in Guyana. And from the beginning to now, it has been driven by the private sector.
The Ministry of Agriculture held a coconut industry seminar which brought together stakeholders from the coconut water industry, coconut oil mills, copper producers, and other producers of value-added byproducts from regions 2 to 6.
In spite of its importance in Guyana, few of us, few citizens, few of us engaged in the economic development agenda of Guyana ever speak in a manner that is reciprocal of the importance of this industry. Indeed, after rice and sugar, the greatest acreage under cultivation in this country is coconut. But the way we talk, sometimes very few people realize that. Indeed, this year, just over 80,000 hectares of land will be devoted to rice. Just over 36,000 hectares will be devoted to sugar, and approximately 24,000 hectares will be for coconut.
To further advance this initiative, the ministry will be seeking support from the various banks, Institute of Private Enterprise Development, Food and Agriculture Organization, and India, Brazil, and Mexico, among others, to be a part of the Oversight Committee.
We have had several meetings with persons who are directly involved in coconut production in Guyana. We have had since then several other discussions with stakeholders outside of Guyana, and there is much more now a demand for such meeting, both with stakeholders in Guyana and stakeholders outside of Guyana, because there is a dire need for the expansion of this industry if we are to supply the demands that we've been asked to from the stakeholders outside of Guyana.
The seminar aimed at having stakeholders devise a 2013 plan towards the revitalization and development of the coconut industry. This is an effort aimed at aggressively pushing the country's agriculture diversification program, of which the coconut industry is an important component.
The government of the Republic of Guyana and the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan formally established diplomatic relations this month.
The decision is in keeping with the foreign policy of the government of Guyana to develop relations with as many member states of the international community as possible with which it has mutual interests. A communique establishing diplomatic relations between the two countries was signed at the permanent mission of the Republic of Kazakhstan by Guyana's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador George Talbot, and the permanent representative of Kazakhstan, Ambassador Barganyem Atimova. The two countries expressed their confidence that the establishment of diplomatic relations will contribute to the promotion of trade, culture, and friendship between the two countries.
The local government ministry plans to take stern action against regional officials whose laissez-faire approach in carrying out their responsibilities result in substandard work by contractors.
A Regional Engineers Department and Works Committee workshop was recently held, bringing together all relevant stakeholders with a view to addressing frontally issues such as overpayment in contracts, substandard work, and workers' incompetence.
What overpayment means, using the Auditor General's language, is that the contract was awarded for $100,000 and $100,000 was paid. But what it was paid for wasn't completely done.
Representatives of the political parties formed the Works Committee, who are responsible for signing the final certificate that the work is done satisfactorily, and in so doing recommend the final payment, which is then approved by the Regional Executive Officer.
The people's needs today and the people's need tomorrow changes. In fact, the more we get, the more we want. The more we demand better quality of service. And I would wish that you see today's activity as providing a forum where we can examine our performance critically, where we can examine and accept that whilst in some areas and in some instances we have been able to deliver to the satisfaction of the people for whom we deliver these services, but in other instances we have not been.
REOs were urged to bring to bear sanctions on errant regional engineers, overseers, and superintendents. Sessions were also held by representatives from the Auditor General's Office to specifically address the issue of overpayment, and provisions of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act in relation to budget preparation were also discussed.
You can't have this nonsense. You're being paid to do a job. If the salary is too small, by God, find another job. Don't attempt to fleece the contractors, because when you do so, it is like in business. When you increase the tariff, not the businessman that bears the burden. It is the end user, the customer. So when you, in the works department, try to extort from the contractors, it is the quality of work that suffers. And it is the taxpayers' dollars that is poorly spent. And so I'm saying to all of us here, I enjoy having this gathering, because this gathering will bring solutions, behavioral and attitudinal changes to put much of these allegations to rest.
There is more in the Weekly Digest after these messages.
The Women of Worth program, a microcredit scheme introduced to lift the economic standing of especially single parents, has transformed the lives of over 2,300 women. Tapping into the loan facility has enabled them to better their and their families' lives.
Great improvements have been made in road construction and rehabilitation under the Hinterland Road program. In the Moruca sub-region, Region 1, 60 miles of road was rehabilitated and constructed, while in Region 4, 12 miles of the St. Cuthbert's Trail has been transformed into an all-weather road.
The health sector can be considered as a training institution, since Guyanese are afforded the opportunity to pursue medical training in a number of fields, including medicine, nursing and surgery at the postgraduate level, midwifery, dentistry and technicians. All of these ensure efficient delivery of healthcare. A message from the Government Information Agency.
Amerindians are now fully involved in every aspect of development, from the highest level of decision-making to that of their communities. Amerindians have been catapulted into the mainstream of society because of the educational and other opportunities made available to them by the PPPC administration over the past 2 decades. Advancement has also been made at the international level, where Amerindians represent their country.
Government continues focus on sport development across the country. This was further advanced with the presentation of tennis tables to various hinterland communities.
The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport has been fulfilling its commitment to strengthen sports activities in hinterland communities. In this regard, Minister Frank Anthony on January 16th handed over table tennis tables to various regional executive officers.
We want the schools to become part of our school table tennis championship. We have been running that for a number of years in Georgetown, but what we've noticed that a lot of schools from the regions don't participate. And by making this presentation to the different regions, we are hoping that we can change that. We also want the REOs to know that if you would like the table tennis coach to come to your region for short periods, we can also send the table tennis coach out.
The ministry will also be handing out tables to coastal areas very soon. Each region received one of the tables, and Minister Anthony urged the REOs to place the tables in the respective dormitories in the communities.
We also received last year assistance in terms of maintenance of grounds, upgrading of pavilion, fencing of these grounds, continued training in the different disciplines, etc. So indeed it's going to go a far way, and we are going to care and utilize these facilities that are given here today, particularly in the dormitories where we have a resident population there. So we are thankful for this gesture of the tables that are coming to the region, and we look forward to maintaining and continuing this relationship we have with the ministries.
Over the past year, the ministry has been pushing sports activities in communities throughout the 10 administrative regions, especially in schools. It has also been upgrading facilities, distributing sports equipment and gear, and organizing sports clubs, which have seen more persons becoming involved in sporting activities.
Work is moving apace on the athletic track at Lenora. Recently, contracts for the perimeter fence and ticket booth were signed.
Contracts were assigned with Ramnod Constructing and Andre Howard Construction Companies and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport for the completion of the synthetic track. Construction of the track has been divided into 3 phases and subdivided into lots. Phase 1 entailed the clearing and preparation of the entire area and outlining the site layout, which has also been completed.
We have broken down that big contract into smaller contracts, and we have just awarded those portions of the contract to different contractors. We feel by doing that we'll be able to accelerate the completion of the fence, which is very essential as we move forward with the project.
The project is now into phase 2. This has been subdivided into 5 lots, one of which was awarded to the German company Regopol to manufacture the artificial surface for the track. In an effort to reclaim the time lost, the ministry chose to subdivide phase 3 and award separate contracts for the works.
This project is entirely funded by government, and every year in our budget we'll receive an allocation to do specific works. This year we anticipate that we'll be receiving monies to start the construction of the stands, because all the other works, all the ground works, that has already been tendered out, and they have varying contractors that are doing those works. So the remaining portion of this facility will be to develop stands.
BK International Company will provide an asphaltic finish to the 400-meter artificial surface for the track manufactured by Regopol.
And with that, we've come to the end of this week's edition of the Weekly Digest. But before we go, here's a recap of the highlights. Joint services agree that there is urgent need to overhaul the security sector. Diplomatic relations established with Kazakhstan. And 50,000 insecticide-treated nets are being distributed by Health Ministry towards reducing malaria. Remember that the Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website, www.gina.gov.gy. You may send us your comments and suggestions at gina@gina.gov.gy. Thank you for having us in your homes. Join us next week as we highlight more of what government is doing for you. Cheers to a productive week. I am Sue Elton Williams.